We just wrapped up our 12-team head-to-head points listener league. Let's break down Scott's team on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Scott White, and Scott was drafting first overall in this draft. So let's take a look at his team. You know he took a hitter first overall. It took Aaron Judge, but we'll start from the top down with JT Realmuto at catcher, Paul Goldschmidt, Jonathan India, Anthony Rendon, Dansby Swanson, and then in the outfield, Aaron Judge, Corbin Carroll, Taylor Ward, with Shohei Ohtani at utility. On the bench, keep Brian Hayes, Josh Young, and Anthony Volpe. This is a really fun offense you put together here, Scott. Shohei Ohtani, this is probably his least desired format, but still, to get him at the 2-3 turn, I thought that was fantastic value. What do you think about this team? Another one where you just could not get your hands on an early round third baseman.
I know, and this is the second team we've broken down of mine where I picked first overall, and that happened. Nolan Arenado didn't make it back to me at the 2-3 turn. Interestingly, because this is a points league, I would have been even willing to take Alex Bregman at the 2-3 turn to avoid the major headache at third base, but somebody took him sooner, took him early in round 2, so I couldn't even do that. The reason I'd be willing to do that, last year, the player I did take at the round 2-3 turn, Shohei Ohtani, 3.18 points per game, 3.18. Alex Bregman was 3.19. So this is clearly Bregman's format, and obviously I prefer that third base eligibility over the utility eligibility of Ohtani. So once again, I had this gaping hole at third base. Came close to drafting Gunnar Henderson, Max Muncy, Jordan Walker. Didn't work out. I do like that in this league, unlike the last one, I was able to take a few bites of the apple, a few upside bites between Anthony Rendon, who, if he's healthy, I mean, this format's going to be great for him. Big if, I understand. Anthony Rendon, Brian Hayes, and Josh Young, both of whom have shown good signs this spring. All three of whom have. If any one of them works out, then it's fine. But, I'm having to use up a couple bench spots in a league in a format where you usually like to fill out your bench with pitchers. So that is part of the downside there. I hope the situation sorts itself out early. The other position where it looks like there's kind of a gaping hole is second base. Jonathan India, again, good signs this spring. If he gets back to walking like he did as a rookie and throughout his minor league career, this should be a good format for him. But if Jonathan India is who he was last year, then I'm on the prowl for a second baseman too. So this is the downside to picking first. As much as I like getting Judge or whomever, you can't necessarily optimize your team at all those scarcer positions. It just wasn't available to me at the points where I was picking. But I got the number one first baseman in this format last year, Goldschmidt, the number one catcher, JT Realmuto, the number one overall player, of course, and Aaron Judge, and then Ohtani to boot. I'm hoping it's going to be okay. It's just going to take a little bit of patching up at those two weaker positions.
And this is a weekly lineup league, so you'll have to choose each week whether you want to use Ohtani as a utility hitter or as a starting pitcher. And who knows? Maybe there's a few 2-star weeks mixed in there, but either way, let's take a look at this pitching staff. You've got Zach Gallen, George Kirby, Robbie Ray, Joe Ryan, and Chris Sale. The relievers, the Mountain, Felix Bautista, and Scott Barlow. On the bench, you have Tony Gonsolin and Lance McCullers. We have 3 IL spots in this league, so you're stashing Gonsolin and McCullers. Probably going to pick up some other pitching depth after you do that. You waited a little bit like you normally do at pitcher, but how do you think the pitching staff turned out?
Look, it's stronger at the top than it usually is for not taking, in a points league especially, not taking my first starting pitcher until round 6. To get Zach Gallen and Robbie Ray there back to back, two guys who you don't have to squint too hard to view them as aces. I think that's great. And then 3 and 4, Chris Sale and George Kirby, they have ace upside as well. It is weird, as I was pointing out, with having 3 third basemen on my roster. It is weird that I don't have a healthy starting pitcher on my bench in a points league. Yes, presumably I'm going to pick up a couple once I put Gonsolin and McCullers on the IL, and hopefully Gonsolin and McCullers are healthy by May, and I'll get some pitching depth that way. But I do have the sneaky Ohtani situation where if I really face an emergency at starting pitcher, I could just shift Ohtani over there and fill in the utility spot with some other hitter. So I think I'll be able to make it work. I do expect, especially in a shallower league like this, only 252 players roster, I do expect the waiver wire will be pretty robust with starting pitchers. And so it was kind of by design, kind of by necessity, since I wasn't able to get a strong third baseman.
All right, well, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.